Are you all about getting your workouts in conveniently? Like, is convenience the number one factor that will determine whether or not you exercise? But you find that your workouts are not getting you the results that you want. In other words, convenience just isn't cutting it anymore. What can you do and what should you do to make sure that not only you're still able to get your exercise in, but your exercise is actually gearing you up to get the results that you want? This is exactly what Julie and I will be exploring on today's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast. We're going to cue the intro song, and then we're going to dive right into this conversation. Welcome to the Exercise is Health podcast, where we're talking about exercise, health, and the interconnectedness of the two. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie,
and we will be coming to you every single week from our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg. Hey, what's going on, exercisers? This is Charlie. Before we dive into this week's episode, I want to let you know about a new training that's happening this week titled How to Rebuild Your Aching Body in as little as 6 weeks without changing your lifestyle. See, if you love the discussions that we have every single week on the Exercise is Health podcast, but you want more of the practical application, the details of how to take the information and apply it to your workouts, then you need to be on this training. All you have to do to get registered for free is go to secrets.exerciseforlifemethod.com. But space is limited, so make sure to get registered ASAP. Now, without further ado, let's dive into this week's episode. Hey, welcome back, exercisers, to the Exercise is Health podcast. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie,
and we're coming to you from our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg, here in Schaumburg, Illinois, where we believe that your health is your most valuable asset, and the single best thing that you can do to both boost and protect this asset is exercise. Specifically, exercise is geared towards building the health and function of your muscles. Now, so many of you exercisers have taken the time to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, and we truly appreciate when you do this. It takes a couple minutes, so it's not a huge time constraint for you, but it means the world to us because it allows our message to spread to more people. It allows people to find our podcast easier, to find our information easier. So if you enjoy the conversations that we have every single week, please let us know by leaving us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Now, that being said, we recently received one that we want to share with you right now.
This review says, excited about your podcast. Fantastic info. You guys are so fun and easy to listen to. Very inspiring. I love the episode about all the benefits of exercise. I have osteoporosis and feel strongly about maintaining my bone health. Great job explaining all the different categories of benefits. I look forward to future episodes. Thank you. Thank you so much for that review. We look forward to hearing from more of our exercisers, and I would specifically love to hear about how you guys are applying this information to your workouts and hearing about how those are changing your outcomes.
Absolutely. Me too. Hey, Julie, I do have a question for you, though.
Okay.
So when it comes to your workouts and when it comes to the outcomes of your workouts, do you like working out in ways that like excessively inconvenient?
No,
you're right.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, like it's a huge burden to get to where you're working out, or, you got to be like so excited for your workouts because it's just going to be such, so challenging for your body or whatever. Like, there are a lot of roadblocks that can like prevent us from exercising consistently. And so a lot of times we default to trying to figure out ways to make our workouts more convenient. And believe me, we're all about that. But the truth of the matter is sometimes convenience just doesn't cut it anymore, meaning you're doing workouts that are convenient for you, but they're not getting you the results that you want. So what should you do in that case? Well, that's exactly what we want to talk with you about today.
Well, you usually think about convenience, Charlie, like you were just explaining it, but there's another like form of convenience. It's not just like the physical challenge or the time challenge, but one that I really struggle with is the decision-making challenge.
That's huge.
Because have you ever like talked to someone that loves working out and they're like, I just have to work out. It's such a great stress relief. I feel amazing. And you're listening to them thinking, what? Like, I cannot relate to that. It is actually stressful to work out. I actually, in the recent years since having kids, find it stressful to work out. Mostly because during my day, I mostly feel like I have limited time. And because I have a scarcity of time, I'm not saying I don't have time. I'm saying I have a scarcity of time. I am having to say yes to one thing and no to other things. So is it going to be okay for me to say yes to a workout, meaning say no, put off laundry, put off cleaning my house, put off working on the business here at Muscle Activation Schaumburg, put off working on a client file, things like that. And then secondly, not only saying yes to that time, but then making decisions within that time. Do I have the mental bandwidth after I've already planned 20 other clients' workouts to plan my own workout? So I actually personally struggle with that because I always feel that I should be working on something else other than myself or putting time into my own health. So you might relate to that, and we're going to be talking about that today. So if you have related to any of this convenience stuff, stay tuned because you're not alone. And I think that a lot of times when we don't consistently exercise, we feel that people that do consistently exercise must just happen to have time or happen to find the convenient. It's just so convenient for them. You know, there's something that just luckily fell into their lap that makes it way easier and convenient for them relative to you. But you're wrong. And we're going to talk about ways to adjust your workouts so that it can be convenient for you.
You're wrong, but it's not your fault that you're wrong, because
That's right.
Yeah, the reality is that what we're bombarded with are messages of, here, use this app, it's really convenient. Here, do this workout style, it's really convenient. And we think, oh, well, convenience is the thing that I should be looking for. It should be the thing that I'm seeking out, because if it's inconvenient, I'm not going to do that. And we get that. But we also know that sometimes convenience just doesn't cut it anymore. And we've seen that a lot, especially over the last 2 years when, home workouts were the only way that people could work out. And then they've been trying to work out just from home for the last 2 years. And they're realizing, okay, yeah, maybe there's actually something more that I need to be doing in order to maintain my health, in order to maintain my strength and my fitness levels. And so we want to talk about, okay, well, how do you integrate this? How do you decide, okay, what ways do I try to keep the convenience, and in what ways am I willing to almost sacrifice some of the convenience, but make sure that I'm getting way better results in the process? And really it comes down to two things. And it's exactly what you talked about earlier, Julie. Okay, number one is if how you are exercising when you're exercising conveniently is leaving your body feeling achy, beat up, sore, like, okay, it's a workouts I'm doing from home. It's a bunch of like squats and lunges and stuff. And that's just not feeling good for my back or feeling good for my knees or hips. Okay. Well, then we need to talk about changing how you're exercising, which is what we do a lot with multiple podcasts. But then also is the decisions. If you're like, okay, well, it's just so convenient to like flip on this app and, turn my brain off and just do exactly what they're telling me to do. And you don't want the decisions, but you're finding that the workouts that you're doing with the app or whatever, they're not really working for you. Well, then we need to talk about, okay, well, how do you go about still offloading that decision making, but making sure that you're actually getting better results with your workouts?
Charlie, I have so many clients that come in that justify what they're doing, which, by the way, is also usually not working for them, is the only thing that they can do because it's convenient. And I always question, well, do you really just do that thing because it's convenient? Or can I think of something that's equally as convenient, but you won't do it? So it's almost like the willingness to do, right? So let me give you an example. I have a client, I've worked with her for like 5 years, and she just loves to walk. She loves walking. She's obsessed with walking. And I love that she loves to walk. It keeps her moving throughout the week. It's something she's willing to do, and she does it regularly. It doesn't flare up any issues with her. It's great. I love that she walks. But also when she only walks, she also doesn't get the results she wants, right? She's not building muscle. Her metabolic health is not improving. It's not enough to change her blood values when she goes to the doctor. So when she's simply only walking, which is what she calls her convenient exercise. I love walking because it's convenient. All I have to do is put shoes on and I just hit the neighborhood. Great, love it. Keep doing that. But what we can do is we can change that convenient exercise to start yielding more health benefits. So if you're listening to this podcast, we're all about changing your exercise to create changes in your health. That means, your brain function, your muscle strength and function, like your body's ability to do stuff and make it better. Your blood values. These are the things that we're trying to change with your exercise. So if it's really about convenience, then I hope then you would be open to manipulating what you're doing in that convenient time. So if you are like my client that says, I only like to walk because it's convenient. All I do is put on shoes and I hit the neighborhood. Well, here's the thing. You can change that time. All you have to do is put on shoes and go hit the neighborhood, but pick a route that has some hills. Pick a route where you feel like you can stop and do some intervals. For example, stop on the side of the road and do a couple squats if you weren't currently doing some squats, or stop on the side of the road and do some toe taps on the curb. Or sometimes, for example, when I go walking with my mom, we say, okay, we're going to do a workout walk, and we'll go for a walk because it's convenient. We're still just putting on our shoes, and every once in a while we'll stop and we'll say, okay, now let's do some side shuffles. See, what we're doing here is we're taking what you're willing to do, meaning your convenience of just putting on shoes and going, and we're changing it by changing the intensity. A lot of people won't get health benefits from quote unquote convenient exercise because either it's not intense enough, or you're doing something to injure you, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But if it's not intense enough, then try adding these types of intervals in. Like, again, what I said, stopping and doing squats or side shuffle or toe taps or anything else that you're willing to do so that you're able to change the intensity so that your body can start being exposed to things that will push it in a more healthier direction.
Yeah, Julie, I really like that you brought up that last point, because a lot of times I feel like convenience is often a disguised word for easy, meaning I'm doing this because it's convenient. And we can all agree like, oh, okay, yeah, well, convenience is good. What we're really saying, or we're really meaning by that is, well, I'm doing this because it's easy. Because like you're saying, there are a lot of ways to have something be just as convenient, but all of a sudden makes it a little bit more challenging. And that little bit more challenge is where you start to really reap the health benefits of exercise. So ask yourself, okay, well, am I doing the workouts that I'm doing, and I'm telling myself I'm doing them because they're convenient? Am I actually doing them instead because they're easy? Now don't get me wrong. There's a lot of kind of mental bandwidth that needs to be used when changing how you're going to be working out. Because if you're not familiar with different exercises or not sure what exercises you should do or how you should be changing up your workouts, then yeah, it can just feel way easier and way more convenient just to stick with what you're already doing. But even still, just with sticking with what you're already doing, are you, every time you're doing it, thinking about challenging yourself and challenging yourself in a way that's appropriate for your body that you can keep coming back to, but in a way that is really building your health? Or are you just going through the motions and telling yourself, well, this is the best I can do because it's convenient? So I think it's a really big thing to start to differentiate.
Absolutely. And I have a story that I want to share that's going to lead us into another point where my mom, she loves to exercise. She's exercised her whole life. And one thing she always told me, and I grew up hearing this story, was that she loved running because all she had to do was put on her shoes and turn off her brain. And she could just run, didn't have to think about it, didn't have to make decisions. And so I thought that convenience was all about just that, you just put your shoes on and go. You don't have to drive to the gym. You don't have to meet with a trainer. But as I got older and I became a trainer, I realized that what was convenient for her was actually not the putting on the shoes and go. It was the turn off your brain. And what was inconvenient to her about lifting weights or doing a class, even in her living room. She doesn't really like to do like videos in her class because she finds it like overly cumbersome to gather the equipment to do the class. So I remember I told her, I said, Mom, you should hire a trainer because you don't find it inconvenient to drive there, but what you do find inconvenient is to make decisions and know what to think about and know the cueing and know what body parts to work and how far in the range, all the things that we talk about on this podcast, she finds incredibly inconvenient to do because what is convenient to her is to turn off her brain and go. So I said, well, if you want to turn off your brain, that's fine, but hire someone that is going to use their brain, because when you exercise, you need to use your brain. It can't just be all distraction, because what happens when you're completely distracted is that you lead yourself to injury, you get overuse injuries, and we really need this to be a lifelong thing. So that leads us to point number 2. Is the inconvenience of exercise the decision making? And it's okay if that's you, but you need to find your way around that. So who's going to make decisions for you? You either need to find a trusted trainer. Maybe you like the thought process that we have here. So then you're like, I just do what Julie and Charlie say. I don't make decisions. Maybe you've signed up for one of our programs. So if you find that decision making cumbersome, the gathering of equipment cumbersome, maybe you're like my mom. You need to find who's going to make these decisions for me so that I know that I'm doing exercise that improves my health.
Yeah, Julie, that's really such a big thing, because the decisions, we are bombarded with having to make decisions all day long, and our brain is doing the best job that it can to make as few decisions for us as possible. And, we drive to work the same ways. Most of the time we eat the exact same meals. We have, not much thought that we put into what we're wearing, unless that's your thing. It's not my thing. So I don't think that much about, what I'm wearing, right? But we find ways to make our lives more systematized and more convenient by minimizing a lot of the consistent decisions that we have to make. And if exercise is one of those things where you are consistently having to make decisions, well, right off the bat, your brain could be thinking of a whole bunch of reasons why you shouldn't be doing that. Because it's way easier to come up with one reason to not exercise than it is to come up with every single decision that you have to make during your workout. So I get it, all right? This is a tough thing, which is where having this guidance, being like, okay, I know I need to exercise. The biggest thing that's keeping me back is knowing what to do and how to do it, and when to change things up and everything like that. That is when it is so worth your time and money to hire somebody to be that extra set of eyes, ears, be that brain for you to say, okay, yeah, no, this is what we're going to do today, and this is how we're going to do it. These are the changes we're going to make. A lot of times people think, especially like personal trainers, they're just like, glorified cheerleaders. Oh, it's just like rah, rah. Okay, it's all motivation. I'm going to tell you, that's probably the least important part of a personal trainer. And even people, when they say, well, I just really need the motivation, a lot of times what we feel we need to be motivated to do is have to make all those decisions and have to find a way to consistently challenge ourselves. Well, guess what? The motivation to make the decisions, you get to offload that to somebody who's going to make the decisions for you. And I tell you what, people, when they don't exercise consistently, just by simply hiring that guidance, I've seen time and again that makes all the difference as far as their ability to actually get their workouts in, which means their ability to actually build their health, build their strength, build their function, and get all the benefits that they should be getting from exercise.
Plus, think about the thing that you do all the time, that you have lots of experience. Maybe you are a dentist, or you are a car mechanic, or, you're a mother and you are with your kids all day. Think of all the things that you do subconsciously that you no longer have to make decisions about, because you're like, I see this all the time. I've dealt with this. I know my kid. I know how teeth work. I know how cars function. I really don't have to overthink this. But think about the first time that you had to work through that car failure thing, or this hiccup that you're having with your child. And then you find your tactics and you realize from experience and education, oh, it's so much easier for me now. That's what happens when you hire a professional. It's like they've done this probably every hour of the day for many, many years. And now, everyone is a little different. So it's not going to be the most perfect smooth ride, but the trainer is going to learn about your body and really help smooth it out versus you trying to figure it all out by yourself. And so those bumps that come along with your exercise journey really get smoothed out. And I think that's a really huge benefit of working with a professional. Charlie, I wanted to piggyback on what you said about when you go from not consistently exercise to then hiring someone that finally makes you consistent with exercise. So I actually have this client that never consistently exercised. She intermittently, inconsistently exercised. When you exercise for a month because you're excited about a program, and then you take 3 months off, and then you find a new program, and then whatever. Anyways, she's been exercising. She comes in once a week. She's been exercising with me for over 4 years now. And it's so cool because every once in a while she'll say things like, so I had my blood pressure taken the other day, and it's never been in normal range, and now it is. I'm like, what? That's so cool. That's amazing. Or things that related to her strength that she wouldn't normally find out in her normal life, but then she does an event like a yard work event and she's like, wow, I couldn't believe I could lift that. So really just getting that consistency in is so important and will make bigger changes than you think it will make when you first start out.
Absolutely. When we're talking about getting the health benefits of exercise, building the health and function of your body with exercise, it really comes down to consistency of being able to exercise frequently enough and be able to continue to do so, which means you need to be able to exercise in a way that you can keep coming back to and that's appropriate for your body. And so, I mean, what does this look like? This looks like when you're able to do this regularly, that's when you really start to see your strength improve. That's when you get to feel that carryover into your daily life of doing the things that you want to do them more effortlessly, and have that confidence in your body that you're not going to go throughout your day and it's like, oh gosh, is today the day that I'm going to get a flare up? Is today the day that something's going to get tweaked or whatever? You don't have to worry about that because you have the confidence that you've built your health and built your strength and built your function to the point that you can go throughout your day, do what you want to do, and your body will support you in doing that. And it's really through exercising consistently and in a way that builds your health and builds your strength with every workout that will allow you to do that. So if like you're just focused on the convenience, but the convenience isn't building your health, if the convenience isn't building your strength, if the convenience is ultimately holding you back from exercising consistently because of how the workouts are leaving your body, well then maybe it's time to rethink what you need to do from a convenience perspective and instead focus on making sure that you're consistently doing workouts that are building your health, building your strength, building your function, okay? And so one thing that we offer to help you do just that is our home workouts bundle. Now, again, we've talked about like hiring professionals and everything like that. Imagine this. Imagine Julie and I are right there with you in your living room while you're doing your workout. There's over 150 workouts where we get to be right there with you going through the workout. We're doing the workout in our living room while you're doing it in your living room. There's minimal equipment. You can get these workouts done in 20, 25 minutes. There's cardio, there's resistance training, there's mobility workshops to keep your joints moving well. There's those recovery workouts for the days where you feel like, I know I should be exercising, but my body's just not feeling up to it. We show you how to exercise in a way that will actually boost your energy like immediately. And it's all within one program that we call the MAS Home Workouts Bundle. Now you can get unlimited access to this entire thing. All you have to do is go to homeworkout.matschaumburg.com. You can get instant access to this entire Home Workouts Bundle. So again, that's home workout, singular, homeworkout.matschaumburg.com. So who do you know that needs to hear this episode? Who do you know who is really focused on getting their workouts in conveniently, but is finding that the results are not leading to where they want to go? Share this episode with them so they can understand how to start changing up what they believe to be convenient about their workouts in order to make sure that their workouts are actually getting them the results that they're desiring. And while you're online, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It helps people find our podcast when they're looking for information on exercise and when they're looking for information on health. So if you found value in this conversation today, let us know by leaving us that 5-star rating and review. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. We always appreciate it. Have a fantastic week, and we'll talk with you all next week. So what'd you think about that episode? Did you find the information useful? If you enjoyed what we discussed during today's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast, then you are going to love what I'm going to be presenting during my new training, How to Rebuild Your Aching Body in as little as 6 weeks without changing your lifestyle. It's happening this week, and you can get registered for free by going to secrets.exerciseforlifemethod.com. But space is limited, so you need to head there now. secrets.exerciseforlifemethod.com, and I can't wait to see you there. This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Julie and Charlie Gates, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.